Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings for Friday, November the 17th. We do have a big Friday night slate tonight, 11 games, so it's going to be a little bit of a longer video, but I am going to try and go quickly, guys, and give you kind of a quick preview, game-by-game breakdown of this 11-game slate for Friday night. But as always, before we do get started with the breakdown, if you guys do enjoy these DFS videos, and if they help you out, make sure you hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, and if you have never heard of Prize Picks is the sponsor of this video. You guys can check out Prize Picks, linked down below in the description. Or just when you sign up for Prize Picks, make sure to use promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up for Prize Picks with my promo code. And for those of you that don't know what Prize Picks is, they are a player prop site, a DFS pick'em site focused on player projections, and you're just picking more or less on a player's projection. It is that simple. You have to make at least 2 picks on Prize Picks, but you can make up to 6 picks, and you can win up to 25x your money. So check them out, guys. If you don't have an account on Prize Picks yet, sign up, use that promo code NOAH, and get your first deposit matched up to $100. And as always, I will be sharing a couple of plays I like for Prize Picks today. I'll make a separate video either later tonight or sometime tomorrow on Friday. I'll make a separate video giving out some Prize Picks plays I like for this slate. So check that video out if you want to see some props I like. But let's talk through this slate. Friday night should be a fun one. Big slate, 11 games. We'll start off with the first game of the night, the Knicks and the Wizards, and we'll start off on the Knicks side. So for the Knicks today, R.J. Barrett and Quentin Grimes are both questionable. These are pretty big injury news, or pretty big injury question marks, because this will give us some value from the Knicks if Barrett and Grimes are both out. For one, it's a great matchup against the Wizards. If Barrett is out, you would most likely see Josh Hart start again in place of Barrett. If Quentin Grimes is out, I'd assume Dante DiVincenzo would start in place of Quentin Grimes, but it could be Emmanuel quickly. I think it would be DiVincenzo, though. I definitely would like DiVincenzo for value at 4,700 if he does wind up starting. He is a decent point per minute player. He's had a pretty good role off the bench this season. You would think if there's no Quentin Grimes, you'll see even more minutes for DiVincenzo. So I would like him a lot. I think Josh Hart, if he would start again, if he were to start again, I would have some interest in him at 5,900 as well. And then the rest of the Knicks, I like these guys. Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, I think are both in really good spots here. The Wizards have been the worst defensive team in the league this season, so it's a great matchup for Randle. It's a great matchup for Brunson. I think both those guys would project a little bit better if Barrett got ruled out. But even if Barrett plays, I still think Randle and Brunson are solid here. And even Mitchell Robinson, I don't mind. I think this is a pretty good matchup for Mitchell Robinson. I think this is one of those games where Mitchell Robinson could really dominate on the glass, could get a double-double. He's typically not a guy that I play often in DFS, especially when he's priced correctly. But I think this is a matchup where he does have some big upside, so I don't mind going to Mitchell Robinson either. There's a lot to like on the Knicks today, and there could be even more to like if Barrett and or Grimes do get ruled out. But let's talk about the other side of this game now with the Wizards. And for the Wizards, not as appealing here, but I will say that the Wizards, when they are involved in competitive games, you definitely have upside for guys like Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Poole. Kuzma definitely has the most secure role of all the Wizards. His minutes are going to be pretty solid. He should play 34, 35 minutes here if the game is competitive. The Wizards are playing at home, so I think that makes it a little bit more likely this game does stay close. Kuzma is a fine GBP play at 8,200. I think Jordan Poole at 6,600 is a fine GBP play as well. Poole's been really disappointing this season. He has shot the ball terribly. You would think at some point Jordan Poole's going to have a good game. We know the usage and the opportunity is going to be there. He just needs to start making shots. Maybe today will be the day that happens. I don't mind Poole in GBPs at 6,600. The rest of the Wizards, though, Advia, Tyus Jones, Gafford, probably not going to go to these guys on an 11-game slate. None of the bench guys I'm interested in from the Wizards. I know Bilal Coulibaly has had some good games off the bench lately, but again, 11-game slate. Have a feeling there will be better value available than Coulibaly. So that'll be it for that game. Let's move on to the next one, Milwaukee and Charlotte. So for Milwaukee today, big injury news to monitor. Giannis is questionable for this game. Giannis did sit out last game. We actually did see Andre Jackson start last game in place of Giannis. Now, Andre Jackson did not really do much as a starter, played just 16 minutes, had just 3 Draftkings points. Even if he starts again, I would be fine passing on him. But I definitely think, Damian Lillard, Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez would all look really appealing here if Giannis is out again. We finally saw Damian Lillard have a big game last game. 37 points, 13 assists, 67 Draftkings points for Lillard. And that was even in a blowout. He didn't even play full minutes last game. Great matchup here against Charlotte. Really like Dame today if Giannis does sit. I think Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez both look solid as well. Even with Portis coming off the bench, he still got up to 30 minutes, so I would be fine with Portis if Lopez or if Giannis is out. And then Malik Beasley actually had a good game last game without Giannis. He put up 30 points, put up 41 DraftKings points. He did shoot the ball very efficiently from the field, 78% from three, 78% from the field, and 72% from three. You can't expect that type of shooting efficiency from Beasley again. But clearly, without Giannis, there is going to just be more opportunity for all these guys, and I think Beasley is someone that will benefit without Giannis. So those are the guys I would like if Giannis is out. If Giannis plays, I think Giannis is the only guy I'm considering on Milwaukee. Great matchup for Giannis against Charlotte. Charlotte's going to have no answer for him. I know Giannis has had some really big games against the Hornets in the past. Would not be surprised if this is another really big game for Giannis tonight. So definitely like Giannis if he plays. But that's it for the Bucks. Talking about the Charlotte side. So looking at the Hornets here, you got LaMelo Ball coming in at 10,200. LaMelo, I do kind of like as a contrarian pay-up option today. I think at this price tag, he's not going to get a ton of ownership, but man, the matchup is really good. Milwaukee has been very vulnerable against guards this season. LaMelo, I don't know how he's going to project at this salary. I don't think he's going to project well enough to really pop in optimizers and stuff. So I think that's going to keep his ownership low. And I definitely think this is one of those matchups where LaMelo could really pop off just because Milwaukee's backcourt defense has really taken a big hit since they lost Drew Holiday. Damian Lillard is just not a good defender. It's a really good matchup for LaMelo. So I do like LaMelo here at 10-2. Gordon Hayward and Brandon Miller are both questionable, so we will need to monitor this. If Gordon Hayward and Brandon Miller are both out, then you'll probably see Theo Maledon start, and you'll probably see JT Thor start. Now, JT Thor is cheap, but he's not a great permanent producer. I would be fine getting away from him even if he starts again. Theo Maledon, however, I don't mind as a value. Now, he was pretty bad last game when he started, played 23 minutes and had just 9 DraftKings points. But Theo Maledon has typically been a decent per-minute producer. I wouldn't mind going to him at 4,800 if he winds up starting again. And then the rest of the Hornets. So, forgot to mention that Miles Bridges is expected to make his season debut today. I forgot his suspension was over, so it looks like he's going to play in this game. And I don't know if he'll start or come off the bench. I don't know what kind of minutes we can expect from Miles Bridges. I'd assume he's been conditioning and stuff, so I would think he can probably play at least 22, 24 minutes. If he starts, maybe they play him 30 minutes. Miles Bridges is really cheap, 5,300. This is a guy that we typically would pay around 7K for, close to 7K. So keep an eye on that. If Miles Bridges is not limited today, if he starts, he's going to be a pretty good play at 5,300. I think Miles Bridges, with his return now, that probably does hurt guys like Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, Brandon Miller. So even if Hayward and Miller play, I'm off them. If they're both out, then maybe you could go to PJ Washington. But I think with Miles Bridges back, I don't like Washington as much. The rest of the Hornets, I think that's pretty much it. Definitely want to keep an eye on that starting lineup though. I'll be interested to see if they start Miles Bridges here. I think if Brandon Miller and Gordon Hayward are both out, we definitely could see Miles Bridges start in the spot. But that'll do it for that game. Let's move on to the next one, Boston and Toronto. So Boston, they're another team dealing with some injuries right now. Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, and Al Horford, I believe, are all questionable. Okay, so Horford's probable, but I know Porzingis and Brown are both questionable. So with Brown and Porzingis out last game, we did see Al Horford start, and we saw Sam Hauser start. Those will definitely be guys you could look to on the slate if they start again. Horford was pretty good last game, 40 DraftKings points in 29 minutes. I think without Porzingis, with Horford playing all of his minutes at center, that definitely boost his fantasy value. So I wouldn't mind going to Horford if Porzingis is out again. And then Sam Hauser at 4,600, I think is an okay value. He did play 35 minutes last game, wasn't super productive, but he would be playable again if Brown and Porzingis are out. But the guys that I would really like from Boston would be Tatum, Drew, and Derek White, just because the offense is going to really run through those guys. If you look at last game, Tatum played 38 minutes, had 52 DraftKings points. Drew played 35 minutes, had 43 DraftKings points, and Derek White played 36 minutes, had 41 DraftKings points. All these guys did well at their price tags, especially White and Drew. I think White and Drew, where they're priced at, they would definitely be my two favorite plays from Boston, assuming there is no Brown or Porzingis. If Brown and Porzingis play, then I'm pretty much off of this Boston team. There's really nothing that stands out if everyone is in. But if those guys are out, I think there will be some plays to go to from the Celtics today. And then on the other side with Toronto, Toronto, OG Anunoby is doubtful, and I think Gary Trent is doubtful as well. Or Gary Trent's, he's probable, so he's expected back for this game, but OG is doubtful. I don't see too much I like on Toronto here. It's a really tough spot against Boston. This is not a team I really want to be attacking on this slate. They are going to be a little bit shorthanded without OG, but the price tags have kind of been already adjusted for that, so we're not really getting much value here. Grady Dick, he has been starting in place of OG. I'm assuming he'll continue to start. I guess they could go with Gary Trent since he's going to be available, but I think it'll be Grady Dick. But like on a 13 or on an 11 game slate, probably not going to go to Grady Dick for value. I think there's going to be better value available. You know, you can always play Scotty Barnes. You can always play Pascal Siakam. They have plenty of upside, but this is not a spot that I really like a ton. I'm fine just kind of avoiding the Raptors today. So let's move on to the next game, Philadelphia and Atlanta. So Philadelphia, Joel Embiid, questionable for this game. Embiid's been questionable, I believe, their last 2 or 3 games, and he's played. So I'm expecting Embiid to play here. You know, matchup against Atlanta, I think is solid for Embiid in this spot. We do have a lot of pay-up options on this slate. We've already talked about Giannis. You do have Jokic on this slate, so there's other guys you can pay up for. But I don't mind going to Embiid here. He's probably my favorite play on Philadelphia. The rest of the Sixers, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, DeAnthony Melton, they all feel priced correctly. Robert Covington got a big price bump. He was terrible the night that he was chalk against Indiana. And then last game, he was really good against Boston, played 37 minutes and had 27 Draftkings points. With his price tag up to $4,500, I'm fine just getting away from Covington here. Definitely my favorite play on Philadelphia is Embiid. I think Maxey and Harris are fine GBP plays, but neither one stand out to me on this slate. And then on the Atlanta side, Atlanta's pretty much fully healthy right now. When you look at the price tags for these Atlanta guys, there's not a ton that stands out here. Trae Young, is always a fine GBP play. I don't think on this slate I'm really going to be going out of my way to play Trae Young, but we know Trae Young has massive upside. We know he can put up a huge game any night. I don't mind him here. I think he's in play. I definitely would prefer Trae over DeJounte. Jalen Johnson has had a really good role as a starter, been playing 30-plus minutes a night, been relatively productive. But the price tag at $6,100 doesn't really make Jalen Johnson stand out on this slate. Capella's in a tough spot against Embiid. Don't love that. Play DeAndre Hunter. I'm fine passing on. There's not a ton I like on Atlanta today. If I had to play anyone here, it would probably either be Trae or Jalen Johnson. Probably Trae would be my favorite play from the Hawks, but no standout plays from Atlanta. So let's move on to the next game, Sacramento and San Antonio. So for Sacramento today, no super meaningful injuries to talk about here. Sacramento, they're going to have their main guys healthy, and when that's the case, I typically don't roster guys like Keegan Murray and Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk when Sabonis and Fox are healthy. And especially with Fox back, the price tags got bumped up a lot for Murray and Huerter when Fox was out. So now that Fox is back, those guys all feel overpriced. But I definitely think Sabonis and Fox look pretty good here. It's a really good matchup against San Antonio. San Antonio's been one of the worst defensive teams once again this season. Sabonis at 10K, I don't mind going to on this slate. I don't think he's going to be a standout pay-up option here. I think his upside may be a little bit lower with Fox back, but still in play at 10K if you want to go there. De'Aaron Fox, though, I do like a lot at 9K. So we've seen De'Aaron Fox be really good in the games he has played this season. Last 4 games specifically, 39, 34, 36, and 38 minutes, 55, 58, 42, and 49 Draftkings points. Great matchup here against San Antonio, fast-paced game. These are the type of spots that Fox typically thrives in. And the 9K price tag, you could argue, is still a bit too low on Fox, especially in this spot. I think he should probably be closer to 10K. I think him and Sabonis should be priced similarly. So I do like Fox a lot in 9K for today. I think he's my favorite play on Sacramento. Other than that, it's pretty much it. And on the other side with San Antonio, so got some injury news to monitor for San Antonio. Keldon Johnson, he's probable, and I think Trey Jones is questionable, or Trey Jones is doubtful. So Trey Jones not expected to play. I don't think Trey Jones being out changes too much here, especially since we have Keldon back. But do want to mention that Devin Vassell is out for this game. So without Devin Vassell, we'll have to wait and see what the Spurs do with the starting lineup. I'm guessing they will start Malachi Branham in place of Devin Vassell. Branham is only 3,900. He's not the greatest point per minute player, but he should play close to 30 minutes, and he is below 4K. It is a good matchup as well against Sacramento. I think Branham's an okay value play here. But if you want to go to Victor Wembanyama, Keldon, assuming he plays, obviously, Zach Collins, these guys are fine, but there's no standout plays coming from the Spurs today. I think my favorite play would probably be Wemby. We have seen Wemby post a really big ceiling in some of the games that have been competitive. The Spurs have been involved in a lot of blowouts this season, so Wemby's minutes have kind of been down. But you look at competitive game against Miami, 34 minutes, 45 Draftkings points. Competitive game against Minnesota, 35 minutes, 56 Draftkings points. When it's a close game, Wemby should play 34, 35 minutes, and he should be really productive when he's on the floor. San Antonio's playing at home here, so I think that makes it more likely this game does stay competitive. If I had to play anyone on the Spurs today, I think Wemby's my favorite play. Probably it, though. Nothing else really stands out here. Keldon is fine, but Keldon is a guy that just doesn't have a big ceiling. I know he went for 50 DraftKings points last game, but he's typically someone I don't like playing often in DFS, especially when he's priced like close to 7K. I think that's when he's kind of appropriately priced. He'll probably have a bigger role without Devin Vassell, but on this slate, not a standout play to me. So let's move on to the next game, Detroit and Cleveland. So for Detroit today, no Jalen Duren, and Marvin Bagley is questionable. So this is actually kind of important. Marvin Bagley, if he plays, I assume will start in place of Duren. We've seen Bagley start pretty much every game this season without Duren, and especially last game, he was really productive against Atlanta. Played 30 minutes, had 38 DraftKings points. It was his best game as a starter this season. This is obviously a very tough matchup against a good Cleveland team and a good Cleveland defense, but Bagley would be playable if he starts here. If Bagley is out, though, I'd assume they would start James Wiseman, but I guess they could just move Isaiah Stewart and play him at center if they don't feel confident playing Wiseman. But if James Wiseman does wind up starting, I'm going to be very interested in him for value because James Wiseman is a good permanent producer. Even if he gets like 20 minutes here, he could put up 20, 25 DraftKings points in 20 minutes. So keep an eye on that Bagley news. If Bagley does get ruled out and James Wiseman starts, I really like James Wiseman for value. He would be my favorite play on the Pistons. Cade and Azor Thompson, these are two guys that I think you can always play on any slate. I think the matchup for Cade's probably not the best, but Cade's had a huge role this season. He's playing massive minutes. He's taking a ton of shots. The ball's in his hands a ton. You can never go wrong with Cade. Azor Thompson's been doing everything, stuff in the stat sheet, rebounding, getting assists, getting defensive stats. At 7,400, I still think he's in play here. He's been playing a ton of minutes as well. But the rest of the Pistons, I'll probably pass on. Maybe if Bagley's out, that will give a little bit of a boost to Isaiah Stewart. So maybe you could go to Stewart in that situation, but I don't think I would be running to roster Isaiah Stewart even if Bagley does sit. So let's move on to the other side of this game with the Cleveland side. And for Cleveland today, more big injury news to monitor. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are both questionable. If Mitchell plays, if Garland plays, I don't see a ton I like on Cleveland here. It is a pretty good matchup against Detroit, but I think everyone is appropriately priced on the Cavs. My favorite play from the Cavs would probably be Garland if he plays at 7,200 or Jared Allen at 5,900. I still think both those guys are a bit underpriced. We are seeing the minutes slowly tick up for Jared Allen. If this is a spot where he gets 30 minutes, I think at 5,900 he'd be playable. I think it is going to be a really good matchup for Jared Allen, whether he's going up against Marvin Bagley or James Wiseman. Those are two very bad defenders. So this is a pretty good spot for Allen, especially with the Pistons missing Jalen Duren. So I don't mind Jared Allen at 5,900. Don't mind Garland. But in a scenario where Mitchell is out, Garland is out, then there's going to be a lot to like on Cleveland. I would really like Evan Mobley. I would really like Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert would be one of the better plays on the slate if there's no Mitchell or Garland. I think Max Strus would project really well. And then you might even get some value here depending on what the starting lineup looks like. I'd assume if they don't have Mitchell or Garland, they would probably start Mobley, LeVert, Allen, Strus, and then probably Dean Wade. I don't think I'd want to play Dean Wade, but I guess he'd be okay. You might see some minutes for a guy like maybe Amani Bates if there's no Garland or Mitchell. I know he's not been in the rotation lately, but maybe he would have to play in a scenario like that. But yeah, it's going to be kind of a wait and see here for Cleveland. It's tough to really break down this Cleveland team until we know if Mitchell and or Garland are in or out. Obviously, if Mitchell's out and Garland plays, then or if Mitchell's out and then Garland plays, I think Garland would look really good. If Garland's out and Mitchell plays, Mitchell would look pretty good. So yeah, tough situation to break down. We'll have to wait on news there. Let's move on to the next game though. Still got 5 more games to hit, guys. Going to try and go through these quickly. So Orlando and Chicago. For Orlando, still the same injuries we kind of been dealing with. No Wendell Carter Jr., no Markelle Fultz. The price tags have already adjusted for all this. There's not much I like on Orlando today. This is not a team I've been rostering much in DFS this season. It's a 11-game slate. There's just no standout plays here from the Magic. Sure, you could play Paolo Banchero or Franz Wagner in a GPP. You could play Jalen Suggs, but yeah, no standout plays from the Magic. And then on the other side with Chicago, so got to keep an eye on the status of DeMar DeRozan. He is questionable for this game. Without DeRozan last game, you did see Vooch and Levine pick up more opportunity, but neither one of them were that great. Vooch played 36 minutes and had just 32 DraftKings points. Levine was really disappointing last game without DeRozan, 36 minutes and just 33 DraftKings points. Although they both busted last slate, I would be fine going right back to Vooch and Levine here. They just, they would have to pick up a huge role without DeRozan, and the offense would really run through those two guys. And I think their ownership is going to be, it's going to be even lower than it was last slate. I think both of them were already pretty low owned last slate, if I remember correctly. And then you have Kobe White, who was terrible last game, but I would be fine going back to Kobe White. I mean, he did play 33 minutes. He just didn't shoot the ball that well. I would like him a good amount. If there is no DeRozan again, I would be fine going right back to him. And then Patrick Williams did wind up starting in place of DeRozan. He played 32 minutes and had 28 DraftKings points. If he starts again for DeRozan, he's a playable value. His price tag did come up to $4,600, but I still think Patrick Williams would be okay here if there is no DeRozan. That's pretty much it for Chicago, though. I think that's it for this game. Let's move on to the next one, Denver and New Orleans. So for Denver, Nikola Jokic is where we're going to start with here. Jokic, at this point, man, he's just like, he's pretty much like a walking triple-double. He's pretty much going to get you like 55, 60 DraftKings points almost every slate. This feels like Russell Westbrook of like, if you guys were playing DFS back when Westbrook was on the Thunder, this is, Westbrook got to a point where he was like, I want to say he was almost 14K on DraftKings. Like, DraftKings had to price him up so much because he would just go out there and put up 70 every single night. Jokic is getting to that point right now. I mean, he's literally going out there and putting up 65, 70 every night at a minimum. Some nights he'll put up 75, 80. He's 12.5. You could argue 12.5 is still too cheap for Jokic right now, just with the role he's had without Jamal Murray. Just doing everything for this Nuggets team, scoring, rebounding, getting assists. I have no issues with Jokic here. I think he's one of the best pay-up options on the slate. We're just going to have to wait and see what kind of value opens up and if it's going to, if we're going to be able to pay up for Jokic. And then you have Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon, who I think are fine plays. At their price tags, though, neither one of them stand out on this slate, but they have been producing at a better rate lately without Jamal Murray. Same with Reggie Jackson. He's a fine play, but not a standout option. No, interest in any Nuggets bench guys. Really, Jokic is the standout play from Denver. And on the other side with the Pelicans, so no CJ McCollum for the Pelicans, but the price tags have kind of already been adjusted for that. Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson are both going to have really big roles here. Offense is going to run through those two guys. Don't love the matchup, though, against Denver. I think this is not the greatest spot for either one of Ingram or Zion, but there's a big ceiling on both these guys, and, if you want to play one of them in GBPs, I wouldn't hate it. J-Val, this feels like a spot where J-Val is going to have to play good minutes just because, they're going to need size out there against Jokic, but there's obviously foul trouble risk for J-Val. J-Val is a good producer when he's on the floor, but his minutes are just so volatile. On an 11-game slate, I don't think that's a risk I really need to take. I'll probably pass on J-Val here. And then Dyson Daniels, we did see start last game over Jordan Hawkins. Daniels played 29 minutes, had 28 DraftKings points. He has been good as a starter lately. The price tag's come up to $5,100, so I don't love Dyson Daniels at this salary, but I still think he's playable, assuming he starts again. I know Jordan Hawkins had a big game off the bench last game, but now that he's coming off the bench, I have no interest in him at his price tag. Really no interest in Herb Jones at his price tag. So that's it for that game. Let's move on to the next one, Phoenix and Utah. So for Phoenix today, Devin Booker, probable, expected to play. Bradley Beal, doubtful, not expected to play. So, the offense for Phoenix is going to run through Booker and Durant. Booker at 10K is going to be a tough guy to pay up for. Last game, played 26 minutes, was really productive in those 26 minutes, but clearly he's going to be on a minutes limit, at least, for a few games. It's tough to pay 10K for a guy that we don't even know if he's going to play 30 minutes. And then Kevin Durant, I think, should have a really big role here. Played 35 minutes last game, had 49 DraftKings points. Without Bradley Beal, there's still going to be plenty of opportunity for Durant. I don't mind Durant on this slate, but I think I would rather get up to like Jokic, Giannis, those guys, Joel Embiid. Like, I think I'd rather play those guys over KD. But KD is playable. He's probably my favorite play on the Suns if I had to play anyone here. I don't mind Nurkic at 6'6". I think this is a pretty decent spot for Nurkic going up against the Jazz, who are going to be without Walker Kessler. I think, this matchup's favorable, but Nurkic is just, he's kind of been a boom-bust player this season. Without Bradley Beal, though, there should be a little bit more opportunity for Nurkic. I don't mind him at 6,600. Not really going to look to any other Phoenix guys, though. I don't see too much else I like here. Grayson Allen, I know, was okay last game. Probably going to pass on him. Eric Gordon, he'll have somewhat of a role without Bradley Beal, but at 4,800, not super interested there. So let's go ahead and move on to the other side of this game now with Utah. And for the Jazz, as we just said, no Walker Kessler. The Jazz, they've been continuing to run out the same starting lineup of Keontae George, Ochai Agbaji, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, and John Collins. I'm assuming they're going to continue to roll out that starting lineup. If we're looking at Markkanen here at 8,600, not a guy I'm super interested in at that price tag. Jordan Clarkson, though, he's been really good lately. Ever since they changed up their starting lineup and ever since they've been without Walker Kessler, we've seen Clarkson really be able to produce now. I don't love this matchup against Phoenix. I don't think it's the greatest spot overall for the Jazz, but Clarkson at 6,800 has shown a bigger ceiling lately, and I think that should continue. While they're running out, while they're bringing THG off the bench, they don't have Kessler. They just have, lower usage players right now playing with Clarkson, and Clarkson has really been able to take advantage of that. So I think Clarkson's fine at 6,800. John Collins at 6,200. He has been starting at center lately. It did result in a big game last game for Collins. Don't think this is the greatest spot, though, for John Collins. There's definitely foul trouble risk going up against Nurkic. I'll probably pass on him. And then Keontae George has actually been pretty good since he's been starting. In the 3 games he has started, he's played 31, 30, and 26 minutes and has put up 23, 28, and 32 Draftkings points. Now, he's 5,400, so it's not like we're getting him at much of a discount. But I definitely think Keontae George at this price tag is still playable. And then Ochai Agbaji has been starting lately. He had like 1 good game, and then other than that, it was pretty bad. He did have 31 DK points against Memphis, 23 DK points last game, but only 10 in his first start. Look, Ochai Agbaji is a really low-usage player. He's a guy that's not going to do much when he's on the floor except just kind of shoot corner threes if he's open. He's kind of like a better version of PJ Tucker. He will rebound, but at 4K, it's just there's a really low floor and a not a super high ceiling on Agbaji. So on an 11-game slate, I think there's probably going to be better value available, but Agbaji is at least playable. Now that he is starting, he should be penciled in for like 25-30 minutes, which puts him in play at 4K. But that's it for that game. Let's talk about the last 2 games of the night: Lakers and Blazers. So for the Lakers, I believe Anthony Davis is probable for tonight, and then LeBron is questionable. I'm assuming LeBron plays here, but last time they played Portland, he sat out, and the Lakers still won. So this is definitely a game the Lakers could probably win without LeBron. But I think for now we have to assume LeBron is playing. If that's the case, I mean, it's a really good spot for both Anthony Davis and LeBron. I think Portland is going to be one of the worst defensive teams by the time the season's over with. It's a great matchup for AD. His spot he should be able to dominate in. At 10-1, I don't mind AD as a pay-up option today. He was really, really bad last game against Sacramento, and typically after AD has a bad game, he typically bounces back. So I would bank on AD bouncing back, putting up a big game here. I think he's in play. I do prefer AD over LeBron straight up. Nothing else, though, from the Lakers looks appealing. It's just AD and LeBron for me, and that's really it here. And on the other side with Portland, there's not a ton that stands out in Portland. Portland is kind of short-handed right now without Malcolm Brogdon, without Scoot, without Anthony Simons, but the price tags have already been adjusted for that. Shaedon Sharpe is playing just a ton of minutes right now. Last game, he only played 27 minutes. Funny that happened because that was the day that I took his over fantasy score on PrizePicks. Literally the day I take his over fantasy score on PrizePicks is the day he plays 27 minutes after literally playing 40 minutes 6 games in a row before that. I would assume Shaedon Sharpe gets back to playing like 35, 40 minutes here. It seems like they want to just play him a ton. I think Shaedon Sharpe's fine. At 7,400, he's just going to play a ton. Jeremy Grant at 7,300 is okay as well. Ayton at 6,800, I'll probably pass on. Skylar Mays has had a really good role as the primary ball handler for the Blazers. He's been playing a good amount of minutes and has been productive from a point-per-minute basis. Price tag feels about right at 6,700, but I think he's still playable. That's really it, though, for the Blazers. I don't see too much else I like here. Toumani Camara has been starting lately, but that really hasn't resulted in much fantasy upside, fantasy value. Even if he starts again, I think I'd be fine passing on Camara here on an 11-game slate. So let's talk about the last game of the night before we wrap up this video, the Rockets and the Clippers. So for the Rockets today, I don't love a ton on the Rockets, but I definitely think Şengün it does look like a solid option, and he would be my favorite play by far on this Houston team. Şengün is just going to do everything when he's on the floor. He's a good scorer. He's a good rebounder. He gets assists. He's kind of like a mini Jokic, and he's going to play pretty good minutes. Should get 34, 35 minutes here if this game is competitive. The Clippers, I think, are a pretty good defensive team, but I think where they will be vulnerable is against centers, against big men. So I don't mind the spot at all for Şengün. It's 7,700. He is firmly in play today. The rest of the Rockets, though, Van Vliet, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Dillon Brooks, none of these guys look super appealing at their price tags. Şengün is definitely my favorite play on Houston. And on the other side with the Clippers, this Clippers team, I've just been fading lately. I think I'm going to continue to fade the Clippers. This matchup is actually not good. The Rockets have played at a really slow pace this season, and the Rockets have actually been very good defensively. So I really don't want to target many Clippers here. We know the usage is going to be very spread out amongst the main 4 guys: PG, Kawhi, Harden, and Westbrook. Kawhi has really taken a step back since Harden arrived. I feel like at some point Kawhi's going to have a big game, and now that his price tag is down to 8K, like I guess he looks somewhat appealing, but man, I can't get excited about any Clippers here. Maybe Zubac at 5,500 you could consider. Zubac's minutes should be a little bit more secured now that they don't, without Mason Plumlee right now. I think they want, some size out there against Şengün, and Zubac can produce when he does get minutes. He's only 5,500. I don't mind Zubac here. If I had to play a Clipper today, I think I would probably play Zubac at 5,500. But man, the Clippers are just not an appealing team to roster right now. Until the price tags start coming down on these guys, it's going to be hard to really consider them, great options. So that's it for that game. That's it for this 11-game Friday night slate, guys. I know this was a bit of a longer video, a little bit over 30 minutes, but I wanted to give you guys plenty of information, plenty of analysis for this Friday night slate. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, though. As always, if you enjoyed, hit that like button down below, guys. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. As always, appreciate your support. Hopefully we can all win some money tonight, though. Best of luck, guys, on this Friday night slate, and we will see you guys in the next video.